So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the greatest watch market update show in the world. Today, I have an unbelievable watch market episode that I would like to share with you guys. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling you for some time that the watch market is dead, and that a lot of people that I know personally are shutting down their stores. In particular, like let's say in Miami, Florida. I have some friends of mine that have stores in the first floor of the Cibo building in downtown Miami, Florida. And they have closed down the shops after 40 years in business, 36 years in business. Some of them have moved up to the fifth floor, sixth floor, seventh floor, but not no more in the showcase floor, which is the first floor. They're gone, kaput and done. I've been telling you that the watch market is dead for some times, and sometimes you guys have a hard time believing that the watch market is dead. And today, I want to talk to you about a subject that is very sad, but true. And I'm going to tell you a story that Sweet Kid Kino sent me the link so I can take a look-see at it, and I did. And I was very saddened. I was very, very saddened because there's been a lot of people that have been enticed to come aboard and work with a Muppet Boiler Room secondary grade watch market dealer, If they live in Boston, they come from Boston and they go work in New York, whatever it is, Pennsylvania, wherever it should be, New Jersey, that good stuff, Miami, And ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling you that these people sometimes don't know how to get off the red, go fast car. Or like I say in my other videos, get off the Range Rover, And we have a dealer that's one of the most popular ones in your people's eyes, that channel, the channel that has that gentleman, Deputy Boxing Black Eyes, or Deputy Droopy Butthole Eyes with the Tweety Bird haircut, that company, It's unbelievable. They had like around 25 salespeople working there. From 25 they went down to 10, from 10 they went down to 9, and today they're probably down to 6, And ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing this video to show you how bad the situation is in the watch business. I just finished telling you people that I know have closed the doors of their watch shop after 30-40 years in business. Friends that I know of. And if they didn't leave completely, they went up, like I said, to the 4th floor, the 7th floor, the 9th floor, they went up there. Because rent in the 1st floor is for the big whales, for the big whales. You're talking about $10,000 in the 1st floor, and you're talking about, $1,500 in the 8th floor, big difference. So that's going on. But ladies and gentlemen, we had a gentleman that worked in that Deputy Droopy Butthole Eyes, dealership, working over there. And this person's name is, I call him the Amish honey bun maker. And he was unbelievable. He had a lot of power in him. He wanted to eat the world. He was so good that he won that Rolex GMT Master 2 with a Jubilee bracelet, the Pepsi. He won it. He was the champion. He was there. He was working hard, and he was making money like you wouldn't believe it. He's a family man, with a wife and dogs and all that stuff, and unbelievable dogs. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be funny, but it came out that way. But anyway, this Amish honey bun maker, he was doing so well that in one of those episodes that we were seeing, he wanted to buy a brand new Maybach, by Mercedes-Benz. He was going to buy a Maybach. He was driving around in a Chrysler 500, one of those Chryslers, they look like a Bentley, like a Rolls Royce, but it's a Chrysler, And he wanted to turn that in to get a Maybach, So it's incredible. He wanted to get that Maybach because he was working with that Deputy Boxing Black Eyes gentleman. That he has a sidekick Jiminy Cricket with the Chia Pet spray can hair, He was, they were all working there together, So you had him there, the Amish honey bun maker, and you had a gentleman that I sympathize a lot with him. I like him, to be honest, I like him a lot. Yo soy de Puerto Rico. I'm from, my parents are Puerto Rican, but I was born in New York, but I consider myself 100% Puerto Rican. And then this firm, that place over there, I told you, Deputy Boxing Black Eyes, shop, or warehouse, whatever he has, he had working those people, those two salespeople, the Amish honey bun maker and the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. We're gonna be talking about the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. Let me just finish with the Amish honey bun maker. And I've been telling you that the situation with the watch business is dead for the longest. It's dead, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let them tell you that the watch market is up and running. The watch market is dead. So the Amish honey bun maker wanted to trade in his Chrysler 500 to get a Maybach by Mercedes-Benz. A $500,000 car. Maybe it was used. Now it's less than that. Maybe it was now $175,000, But he was doing so wonderful that he was going to buy that car, But luckily, good for him that it didn't happen. Just 6 months later, or they let him go, or he let go himself, or he quit, whatever it was. The Amish honey bun maker. This is a story to let you know how bad the watch industry is. Get it through your head. The watch market is dead. We're talking about the Amish honey bun maker, with the beard, He only needs the hat, and he's the Amish. They make unbelievable honey buns over there, in Pennsylvania. So 6 months later, he's gone. And lucky, thank God, he didn't buy that Maybach by Mercedes-Benz on the salary that he was making there. But ladies and gentlemen, we saw something that was very sad. We saw something very sad because we have there working no other than the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. It's unbelievable. He looks exactly like Charlie Brown, but in a Puerto Rican version. And ladies and gentlemen, he worked hard for these people. He's the last of the Mohicans. This Puerto Rican Charlie Brown is the last of the Mohicans there, because the rest that are in that company are family, You got the two brothers, one is bald-headed and the other one has hair. And then you have Jiminy Cricket with the Chia Pet spray can hair. And you have Dora the Explorer. And you have Deputy Boxing Black Eyes, which is the big kahuna of the whole show. And the outsider, the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. While he was doing good, he went a little bit he went fancy. He went fancy on us, and he bought an unbelievable car. Unbelievable car. He bought a BMW M4. Not only a BMW M4, he bought a Keith, I think it's spelled Kith. Unbelievable looking car. If you see the picture of this, unbelievable. See the picture of the car. It's unbelievable, And this is an unbelievable car. This is they made of this gentleman, which is Keith. He's involved in the streetwear, shirts, shorts, I don't know, all that kind of stuff, that kind of clothes. And he's like a big designer, and BMW chose this gentleman, that Keith guy, Keith, whatever you call it, BMW could have chosen Supreme, Montclair, all these different brands, but they chose this company. And you're not going to believe this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a rare car. This is like saying the Gambala, like saying AMG, I don't know. Those, all those companies that make those, the G-Wagons, that kind of stuff, unbelievable. And this young kid, the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown, he bought that car. They made only 150, models of that car. Rare. It's a rare car with like 600 horsepower. It's a racing machine. It's a competition car. You're talking about $150,000 car. And ladies and gentlemen, the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown, I'm happy to hear that he had that car. He deserves that. He worked very hard, making Deputy Droopy butthole eyes with the Tweety bird hair rich, But ladies and gentlemen, there's a sad part to this story, sad, this is unbelievable, You're talking about if you're leasing this car, which I believe is a lease, you're paying on that car on a lease over $2,000 a month. And the poor Puerto Rican Charlie Brown was strong arm and force. Like this over here, let me show you something. You see this over here? This is BMW, right? Because we are, my wife drives a BMW, and we just got her one, and they, they take care of us, and they give us all this kind of stuff, BMW shirt, all this stuff, because, we're regular customers, and all this stuff, beautiful hats they give us. But anyway, I'm just trying to tell you that, you have to have some kind of balance in life, and we still went over there and we argued prices to get the best, leasing program we can find. But the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown got that car. And the situation is bad in the watch business. Nobody is buying watches, ladies and gentlemen. No hay dinero en la calle. There's no money. There's no plata. No hay chelos. No hay dinero. No hay chavo. ¿No entendiste? No hay cuartos. La situación está jodida. There's no money out there. And ladies and gentlemen, we saw an episode. It was very sad. That the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown had to give up his BMW M4 / Keith. Look at the pictures. Unbelievable machine. 600 horsepower. $150,000 car. He had to give it up, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to believe this. They took the car, ladies and gentlemen, from somewhere over there, from, Philadelphia. They drove it all the way. I don't know how they drove it, or they piggybacked it, or whatever it was, They put it probably in I don't know what it was, They put it there on top of something and they drove it, like the Flintstones, all the way from Philadelphia to Miami, Florida. And ladies and gentlemen, with the pain in his eyes, he had to give the car, They say he sold it to him, They sold it to, that deputy boxing Black Eyes has an adult son, and the adult son purchased the car from the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown, because most likely the situation is terrible out there, and paying $2,000 a month in a leasing program is very strong, very, very strong, Imagine for me, it's strong. Imagine for a young man like him, if you're making $500 a draw a week, and that's $2,000 you're getting draw, and you're not selling no watches, you got to start getting rid of everything. What I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you got to be smart. There's no money out there in the street, ladies and gentlemen. There's no more SBA loans. There's no more PPP loans. There's no more employment protection check plans out there no more. There's no more stimulus checks. Está jodido la cosa. So the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown sold this car to this gentleman, sold the car. And you see him there when he's saying, I can't believe I'm selling my car to this gentleman, to this gentleman. Unbelievable. Selling the car. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a part when he's giving the car away, they make a flip, they flip the coin in the air. And they were doing a flip, the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown and the person that's staying with his car. And when they made the flip, even the flip he lost. And you see the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown's face, he looked acabado, destruido, He did, let me tell you something, Puerto Rican Charlie Brown, you did the right thing, papi. you got rid of that car. You don't need that car right now. You don't need it. It's a big load of headache in your body and your soul. So you did the right thing. But even when they did the flip on the coin, he lost it. And he even says on the video, you must see the video so you know what I'm saying. This unbelievable trust of a car. Unbelievable, BMW, the ultimate driving machine, And this kid, you look really, really, he looks sad. You can see in his eyes, he looks sad that he was giving up the car that he worked so hard for. He was giving it now to the owner's, son where he works at, It was sad. It was very sad. He was giving it up. I'm telling you, this is an unbelievable time machine. You know what I mean? A real car time machine. This is an unbelievable 600 horsepower. And, it had everything that you can imagine this car had. Unbelievable. The guy that does the design is, is Keith streetwear. The streetwear. It's like saying the Williams. Williams BMW. But this is, that Keith. It's unbelievable. 150 of those cars. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that you should go take a look at that video so you can see the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown's face when he lost a coin flip and he was getting rid of the car. He was being strong-armed, and forced to give up that BMW. Puerto Rican Charlie Brown, tú eres uno de los míos. Yo también soy de Puerto Rico, pero hiciste lo correcto. You did the correct thing, Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. I'm Puerto Rican myself, and you did the right thing. Get that, get that off your head. It's too much money, you did your thing. Let's hope that this deputy boxing black eyes doesn't let you go now, because now is when you really need that job. I'm rooting for you. In this video, I'm doing it for you, so this deputy boxing black eyes can hear me talk, and they can protect you for a while more, and you can have your job. But things are bad. Things are bad out there, ladies and gentlemen. You gotta see the way this young kid looked. He looked very confused. He looked dazed and confused. Like the song from Led Zeppelin, Dazed and Confused. He looked the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. And I hope they don't do the same thing they did to all those people that worked there. Like there's so many that worked there. Like they did to Jeter Pinocchio, like they did to the Amish honey bun maker, like the Pillsbury Doughboy with a Taliban beer. Unbelievable. Just so many people, they got rid of, like the Frenchie, Mr. French, the guy that came from France. Believable. Too many people. And so I'm making this video to protect and defend the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. La situación está jodida, muchacho. The watch market is dead. There's no money out there. Esto se jodió. Sometimes in life, you got to turn in the Range Rover and start driving a regular car like the one that I drive, which is a pickup, a Ford pickup is what I drive. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So again, please, Mr. Deputy Droopy Butthole Eyes with the Tweety Bird haircut, save the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown's job. Anyway, guys, there it is. I'm coming in his defense on the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. I hope you enjoy this, this episode on the situation being drastically bad in the watch business. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like our video, and like we say always, take care and brush your hair. Peace.